Mighty Ape is Australia's entertainment and pop culture superstore with everything from movies, music, games, toys, books, hobbies, and more. Mighty Ape is your one-stop shop for the things that matter most. They constantly have hot deals and exclusive promos. And if you visit their website on the click-through banner on fakechef.net's homepage, then your purchase will help support Good Movie Monday. Mighty Ape, Australia's entertainment and pop culture superstore.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning!
Morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
You mean to wish me a good morning? What do you mean that it is a good morning whether I want it or not?
Please go away. Let me speak for the love of God.
Is there a more iconic riff than that? There's certainly no more iconic banjo riff, at least. Well, that is, of course, Dueling Banjos from Deliverance, as performed by Eric Weisberg, who sadly passed away this week at the age of 80. I thought that we should start the show with a quick little tribute to that legendary work, but we just won't mention the fact that he plagiarized that. There was actually a piece called Feuding Banjos. So
There you go, Eric.
yeah, well, anyway.
Sly dog.
Here's to you, Eric. Well, good morning to you. I hope you're well. Thanks for sticking with us. A Good Movie Monday. My name is Glenn Cochran, and my fearless henchman, Keith Schultz, is back on the mic again. He's returned from the slopes of the Swiss Alps, and it's damn good to have him back. How you going?
It's good to be here, mate.
I've missed you, mate.
Yeah, no, the altitude up there was good, but I'm good to be back.
And this week we're joined by Adam Ross, who is the chairman of the Australian Film Critics Association and presents a video series called Adam's Just Seen. He also happens to be a weekly contributor on this show. So, Adam, how you going? Thanks for being with us.
It's good to be here.
We're going to pick your brain a little bit later. You're going to give us the yay or nay on a new film called The Hunt, which is now streaming. So in the meantime, sit back, but feel free to chime in whenever you want to. And our usual suspects are lined up and facing forward. Guillermo from Screen Realm and Jarrett from Monster Fest will turn their attention to what's been happening over their way. And of course, on this episode, this week, there is no C word. So Keith, what is news?
What's new? So I've seen that Paul Thomas Anderson, the greatest living director, not my words, but Glenn's, is gearing up
Pretty
to
close,
make.
pretty close.
Something Glenn would never say.
Well, you know,
Indeed, he's kidding.
certain critic,
Indeed.
circles.
What are your thoughts of There Will Be Blood, quickly?
Here we
Classic?
go. He's going to try and set me up.
Okay, no,
Classic?
Look, to me, total classic, right? But I mean, I'm a Radiohead nerd. I went to a
yeah.
double feature the day that came out. What else did I see? Maybe Atonement or something.
Phew.
But anyway, and I was like, ooh, these movies are
Dang.
frying my circuits. But Daniel Day-Lewis.
Ah,
I mean,
what
look, it's a goddamn weird movie. It's a
It
movie
is.
about oil.
Would you
plays, like,
say it's overrated?
You know, I used to bow to these things, right? Like, because I was like, you can't talk shit about this because it's got 98 on the screen, right? But I went, my brother bought me tickets to go see it with MSO, like last year or the year before. And honestly, it was rock and roll.
Yeah,
Like, it was
I can
mad.
imagine.
It's a pretty...
He's trying to wind me up.
yeah, look, I mean, you know, people... Yeah, PTA, like, you know, started off as, like, Discount Scorsese, and then he just mutated into this really weird thing. And by Phantom Thread, like, I mean, but look, other friends who like to deep dive, they worship.
You know,
they
it's
kiss
this
his
it's
boots,
this
they will kiss his
discount
boots.
Scorsese stuff that I love the most.
Same.
Like, you know?
Boogie Nights, I reckon, best film of the 90s almost. Like, you know, I mean, it's just an amazing movie.
I would say that PTA is Kubrick by way of Kid A.
Yeah, well, it's
Indeed.
look, you know, but look, I mean,
I'll actually take the other Paul Anderson. Thank you very much.
yeah, well, look, I was into. I mean, he did. He went down this fork in the road, and
He
then he
did.
started making weird shit. And I'm like, okay, what is going on?
He's
here?
getting more cooked and cooked.
I mean, I was.
Like he is.
He is, and I think
Inherent Vice.
that's my problem with
Yeah.
it is because I loved him right up until Punch Drunk Love because
Yes.
that is to me I think that and Magnolia is like magnum opuses like they are
Yeah,
just
I think he had this
absolute
run going, and I was
beautifully masterful films, but then he just everything else. The master was so
Because Adam
crap.
Sandler's in it. I know. That's why you love it. It is.
What about Philip Seymour Hoffman, man? Come on.
I couldn't take my eyes off the master, and then I was like, well, that's kind of anticlimactic. isn't
It's a
it? And I went
strange
down,
one.
And I was a bit, but I mean, as a, you know, as a two-hander and those two performances, I do think that they are amazing. Like King
Yeah.
Phoenix, that's kind of a prototype even for the Joker and shit. And I was like, look at him, he's so spindly and weird. and
He's
talking-
amazing in that film.
Those sequences
Yeah.
when he gets interrogated, he talks about sex. I was like, there's something going on here. Like,
Yeah.
it's like a wild animal. I loved it.
There was
But
some
as a movie,
sparks.
I mean, he's got more and more introverted.
Yeah.
Like PTA was a big, you know, ritzy filmmaker, like amazing camera moves, like incredible long takes. And now he's just become,
Look,
two dudes sitting in a room staring at each other
Yeah.
silently.
I
Like,
don't hate the guy. Like we have an ongoing little rivalry with.
Can I just Can I provide some context?
Yeah.
I rate There Will Be Blood incredibly highly. Maybe the best film of the 2000s. I
I
know
can
that's a
hear an argument,
popular
yeah,
view,
totally,
but
yeah.
I reckon
No.
it can be stated. Glenn doesn't quite share that view.
No, I don't hate the film
No, no,
at
he
all.
doesn't.
I just think it spirals out of control, which it's supposed to. I understand that,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it goes in a
Mm.
direction I just don't like, I don't appreciate, don't enjoy. And I think the films following that just subsequently kind of have a real a real wankerism around them. I think there's a lot of dickheads that love these things. Sorry, Keith. Present company excluded.
No worries, mate.
Oh.
No worries.
I mean, yeah, PT has got into that kind of rarefied air where I guess critically you're scared to talk shit about him, like because
I'm not.
the reviews come out and you think, oh god, like
Critically.
you get
Well,
a bit, you
I
get a
mean,
bit preconditioned sometimes. But I revisit and I do love a lot of his films, except for Inherent Vice and Punch Drunk Love. I'm not,
Phantom Thread is sensational.
yeah,
Hilarious.
I saw that 3 times. I did-
Hilarious
I-
film.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It's bizarre.
Well, it's
so
funny
bizarre.
you bring up P.T. Anderson because I read also this week there's a bit more P.T. Anderson news. Are you across this?
Yeah, this is why I sort of brought him up, to be honest. He is casting for his new film. So I saw some info.
That's not even what I'm talking about. So this is great.
Oh,
Go
yes.
for it.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
And I did see that as well. What a dog, with a bit of Quentin as well, I
Oh, is
believe,
this a
involved
Fiona
in
Apple
that.
thing?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, no, this is juicy.
Fiona's
It's made
ne-
my blood boil. Anyway, go ahead.
She's never been the same since. But he's got a new film, apparently set in the 1970s in California, about a high school student who is a child actor as well. Apparently, it is an ensemble piece, so it sounds like it could have might have a bit of a Magnolia
Yeah.
Yep.
flavour, at least in terms of structure. So maybe he's going back to Robert Altman.
Well,
Mm.
maybe, but let's talk about Fiona Apple just for a minute because
Yeah,
she
sure.
Yeah.
doesn't deserve that much more time than a minute.
Fiona.
Like seriously, like this is a woman I adored, right? I
So
like
did
her
Paul.
first 3 albums are like just part of my
Mm.
my fabric and all that. But and back when Magnolia came out, she made a great documentary with
Yes.
P.T. Anderson
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the making of that
Yeah,
film and
she
their
did.
relationship.
She
She's
did.
come out this week and she's completely sledged the guy, saying that they were, he wasn't the perfect partner, and he's,
Mm.
but she never said he's like an evil guy. He never hit her, never abused her.
No.
No.
He's just not a perfect partner, and she wants to throw all this mud at him for
That's
no
right.
apparent reason whatsoever.
Is it the New Yorker, that piece? I mean, it was really sprawling. It was quite lengthy, but as you said,
Mm.
people just got these like grab quotes and they went and they ran with it, especially on film sites. And they're like, PTA is like drug addict, loser, boyfriend, or whatever. But she just kind of said it didn't work out the way.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
'cause
a
they-
bit more scathing than that.
yeah, look, I mean, they were an it couple there for a while. and
Yeah.
because we're like the greatest living filmmaker and this cool, like greatest living.
But I mean, just
you know,
because you're
musician.
famous doesn't mean you just have this like right to throw someone under the bus when you're
Can
asked
I
about.
can I say, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, she said that the reason she stopped taking cocaine is because she cooked it one night with Quentin Tarantino and Paul Thomas Anderson, and their hubris in her drug-addled state put her off drugs. I'm saying, Fiona, you should be thanking them.
I can't.
They've saved you a lot of pain here.
Tarantino would be like a machine gun, like at
Oh,
that
he
age,
would
I
be-
mean, I thought he was on cocaine
He-
all the time, so I thought,
He would make Tony Montana change his lifestyle.
Because she said that they were talking about how brilliant they were, which I kind of want to hear a recording of.
That would have
but,
been
you know,
brilliant.
that would've been great, yeah. I can see Tarantino,
It would have been amazing.
Well, speaking of brilliant, I thought it was worth mentioning also that this week Woody Allen's new memoir has been has been released discreetly after being dumped by its original publisher. The book is called Apropos of Nothing. It's released through Arcade Publishing. Look, the
Very
book,
apt title.
Look, the book supposedly recounts his childhood, his rise through comedy, as well as recounting the ongoing controversy over his marriage and those scandalous accusations. Look, I won't say much more aside from the fact that I'm looking forward to reading it. I am definitely on the Woody train. I absolutely adore this man. He's one of my heroes. And there's also a great documentary called Woody Allen,
There is.
or Woody. And if this book is half as good as that is, then I am all over it. But I wanted to point out a rather disgusting review that I read this week. About the book, coming from the New York Post journalist Maureen Callahan,
Maureen.
who said, and I'm going to quote, "One of the most tone-deaf, disgusting, bitter, self-pitying, horrifically unput-downable memoirs since Mein Kampf."
Wow.
Wow.
That's pretty deplorable.
That's
That's,
staggering.
so,
I want a copy now. To
Yeah.
read.
I mean, seriously, what a piece of shit tabloid thing to say.
That's staggering. Maureen, where's your Annie Hall?
Well, she has written a lot of books.
Yeah.
I don't like this binary that it's fallen into, and not being an apologist in any way, but I mean, there's such conjecture there about this case and no one really knows these details. And the minute that, anyone even tries to remotely talk about his art, it just gets hijacked so quickly. And someone was writing something about Midnight in Paris the other day, right? And I watched on Facebook, and they got 6 comments in, and no one had mentioned the case. And I was like, what's going on here? Why
Wow.
has no one brought it up yet? And they actually just talked about his art, and I'm like, this is great.
What a
Wow.
great film Midnight in
Yeah,
Paris
yeah.
is.
It is a good one. It's
Sensational.
it's what the companion piece to Purple Rose of Cairo.
Back to the Future. But no, you're right.
Yeah.
So moving on, someone else who's had a massive influence on my life. This week we lost another master of horror, the legendary Stuart Gordon, age 72. I'm devastated by this news. This guy is a
right.
massive part of my upbringing, my cinematic sort of my cinematic learning. Like right from the start, this guy was on board. Like let me just go through some of the stuff he's done. Horror, as a horror director, he made films like Reanimator, From Beyond. They're the iconic ones. He also made Dolls and Castle Freak and Dagon. But science fiction fans will know him from Fortress with Christopher Lambert, Robot Jocks, King of the Ants, and Space Truckers with Dennis Hopper. But then, drama fans will know his work with David Mamet. He made
Yeah.
that movie Edmund with William H. Macy and
yeah,
gave
yeah.
David Mamet his start on stage
I
because
remember that now, yeah.
he was a
Yeah.
man of the stage. He founded the Organic Theatre Company in Chicago in 1969. That produced countless plays, most notably one called Bleacher Bums, which gave rise to Joe Mantegna.
Wow.
And
Okay.
Dennis Franz, which
Yeah.
you don't see much of him anymore.
No.
Is he still alive?
Maybe.
Anyway, this guy was a massive part of my cinematic education, so I'm really saddened by his passing.
Mm.
We're going to give away a couple of his films later on in the
Yeah.
show.
Good.
So anyway, it's Star Wars week, so let's throw to Jared and find out what else is hitting the shelves.
Hey, this is Jared and welcome to PE class. It's getting increasingly harder to get physical at the moment because all the gyms are closing, they're telling us to stay indoors, but you're going to have to get physical like me. First up, Umbrella are releasing a double feature of Joe Begos's VFW and Bliss together. Now, both of these films played every one of our Fangoria Times Monster Fest festivals in October of last year, and both are really cool for very different reasons. Bliss is sort of like a modern vampire tale, whilst VFW is a bit of a throwback to something like Assault on Precinct 13. Very cool films, and Umbrella releasing them not only in a double feature, but a feature-laden double feature. There is so many special features on these things. Bliss, in fact, has like 3 audio commentary tracks, one of which is exclusive to this release. It has not been released on any other release of Bliss anywhere in the world yet. Plus some deleted scenes and trailer, rounding this out to make it the most definitive release of Bliss in the world. Then there's VFW with multiple audio commentary tracks, featurettes, and a making of. Also out from Umbrella this week is a new Aussie crime thriller from filmmaker Heath Davis titled Locusts. This film had a little bit of a festival life late last year, early this year, and now it's debuting on home entertainment direct to DVD and digital. Coming out from Disney, now this is insane. Obviously with the current climate, look, I'm not going to talk about the war, they're dropping releases earlier than anticipated. So this release actually ended up dropping in stores late last week, and that's Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. I'm going to say very little about this movie because you've already made your mind up at whether you're going to buy it or not, because if you were even remotely interested in this film, you will have seen it at the cinema. I've picked it up, and there's a 2-hour legacy documentary on the Skywalker saga, which I'm really looking forward to checking out. Of course, I picked up the 4K UHD, so it's got Dolby Atmos, which I'm very keen to see how that sounds at home. But something that's far more exciting than The Rise of Skywalker is the fact that Disney have issued episodes 1 to 7 for the first time on 4K UHD. And I'm pretty sure all of those are exclusive to JB Hi-Fi. I'm not so much interested in episodes 1, 2, or 3, or even 7 for that matter. It's 4, 5, and 6 for me, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, all making their 4K UHD physical disc debut. Now, these things have been streaming on Disney Plus with Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos, but my internet connection's not that great, so I haven't been actually able to watch them with the Dolby Atmos. That said, I'm so excited because I picked them up as soon as they hit the shelves, and I'm going to be marathoning those 3 this weekend. It's a mix of archival content as special feature content, as well as some brand new features as well. Those 4K UHD releases are 3 disc sets, so you get the 4K with the movie, and then 2 discs with all special features on Blu-ray. So yeah, I can't wait to dig into them. Also out from Disney this week is Spies in Disguise, which probably not something I typically talk about, but I really enjoyed it. It's the new animated feature from Blue Sky Studios. They're the guys that worked on Ice Age and Rio. Pretty much most of the animated films I didn't enjoy, but Spies in Disguise completely different. It's got Will Smith as a pigeon, and I love pigeons, and Will Smith as a pigeon is perfect casting. It's loaded with featurettes, music videos, and much more. Eagle are releasing one of the most bizarre movies of 2019, The Fanatic, with John Travolta and Devon Sawa. Now, if you haven't seen anything from The Fanatic, which would be, it just blows my mind because there's that many memes out there with John Travolta pictured from this movie, so you must have seen it. It's John Travolta with a mullet, and the mullet has to be seen to be believed. It's something of, it's just truly magnificent. It is a wig, of course, but I mean, that guy's always wearing wigs. And it's also got Devon Sawa all grown up and strange looking. It's definitely worth checking out. It's such an oddity. It's at times funny. I don't know whether it's intentional or not, but it's pure crazy. I don't even know what word is fitting for The Fanatic, but you have to see it to believe it. Anyway, that's all this week's releases heading out on home entertainment. And with the current way the world is, which I'm not going to discuss, embargoes are being lifted left, right, and centre on titles. So things that aren't actually due until about April 8th are actually hitting store shelves right now. That means you can pick up Jumanji, The Next Level, on 4K Blu-ray DVD right now. But I'm not going to talk about that now because that's for next week's PE class. Anyway, thanks, and you'll hear me again next week.
So we're 5 episodes into this show, and aside from the typical casual banter, we haven't really given you much of an insight into our own film odysseys.
No.
Obviously, you've probably pegged me as the genre nut, and if you've been following my work over the years, then you'll know precisely who I am and what I stand for. But if you are a newcomer, this conversation might welcome you into my world. As for Keith, you've probably marked him as someone that's more scholastic.
As a man of taste.
Has a penchant for the more acclaimed drama. A particular era is unmistakable.
Well, look, some of us need to go through the drive-thru and get the burgers, and some of us need to sample the finer meats.
All right, well.
Zing. Scorch.
Well, I thought we would take this opportunity to go back to where it all began and share our first memories of the movies with you. So, Keith, would you like to share what your very first memory of cinema was?
I can, yeah. So the first film I saw at the cinema was the Flintstones. The John Goodman.
Bit of Spielberg love
flick.
there, mate.
Yeah, apparently. So I remember we had this argument. I could have sworn blind that Francis Ford Coppola directed it.
No,
and
Brian
he
Levant.
did. I was like, I don't know how I arrived at that. But that was the first film I ever remember seeing at the cinema. I loved it. The first film I can ever remember seeing, though, is Superman, the Richard Donner film, which is still holds a special place for me. Chris Reeve, Gene Hackman, the boys.
It was the first actual serious superhero film.
Absolutely.
Like it was made as a film as opposed to a movie. You know?
Still holds up. Highly influential. I think it's probably a little underrated in that regard. That people
groundbreaking.
Indeed. Richard Donner, great filmmaker, amazing music. So I still revisit that film regularly. That's the film I remember seeing firstly. And obviously, as you know, Glenn, and I'm a big Beatles fan. So when I was 4, the other film I can remember watching was A Hard Day's Night. So they're probably the first 2 films that I can ever remember watching, which might explain why my taste goes to that era, maybe in a subconscious way. But the first film I can ever remember seeing at the cinema is the Flintstones, and then I saw the Mighty Ducks. Stone Cold classic. Mighty Ducks, one of Disney's best ever efforts.
There is a sequel series coming to Disney Plus.
Coach Bombay.
He's back.
He's back.
He's back. Well, my first 4 memories kind of morph into one for me. Sort of gives you an impression of where the direction of my cinematic
When you were
journey
3, you watched The Exorcist.
when I was 3. Here we go. Let me say.
Okay.
The 4 movies that I'm going to talk about: E.T., Ghostbusters, Neverending Story, and Vacation. So I saw E.T. at the Frankston Cinemas in 1982. I vividly remember laying on the carpet in front of the screen, sticky carpet, I'm sure. And that was my first realization of what the cinema is and how big it is. And you know, it's sort of when you're that small watching E.T., I remember being terrified when all the government guys come into the
stressed me
scene.
out as a kid. Yeah.
But then 1984, 5 years old, I saw Ghostbusters at the Greensboro Cinemas with my parents. The Neverending Story the same year in Montmorency, and then Vacation at the Luna Drive-In. So that was sort of all the same year. So Neverending Story, I remember hiding behind the seat when Mork came out of the cave. You know, that dog with the fangs. Scared the shit out of me, which is where I pegged the origins of my love of horror. Like, I remember that fear.
It scared the shit
And
out of
then
me, yeah.
Ghostbusters scared me.
Well,
man.
that too.
Yeah,
When the
yeah.
librarian at the start,
Like-
you know, the librarian turned
Yeah.
into like the monster.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That scared me.
Yeah.
And these are memories I remember having, and it's like, wow, I love this feeling. Like, what is this? And I've tried to sort of chase that my whole life. Charles Band plays a big part in that, but that's a story I've told many times on another podcast. But Vacation, I remember being snuck into the drive-in underneath a blanket. And my lasting memory of that is watching the scene where Rusty drinks the whole can of beer.
Yeah.
You know, when they're having that bonding moment?
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, that one image now, when I see, like, an American can of beer, I just immediately think of that.
Yeah.
And no, they're the sort of things that sort of, for me, it's sort of nostalgic, and I
Absolutely.
gravitate towards those sort of genre films. But I wasn't very sheltered, like, watching movies when I was a kid. Like,
No.
were you?
Yeah. No, I was actually. But when I hit probably when I was 11, so I think the film that made me an actual film buff was The French Connection. So I saw that when I was 11, and then I was like, oh, sick, I got to get
Yeah.
involved in this. Hence, I went everything from that sort of era. But from then on, I'd watch anything. But before that, yeah, I didn't have access to
Mate.
anything too bad. At the
Like, I
age
used to
of-
watch, like, my parents would just watch these films and let me watch with them.
Yeah.
Like, whether it was bloody Lethal Weapon with the girl in the plastic in the pool dying, like, drowned, like that was pretty traumatic for
yeah,
a kid, you know.
absolutely.
But what was the other one? Dead Calm.
Yeah,
Billy Zane and that. Like,
Yeah.
these are movies that I remember as a real little tacker.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely loving. But I do remember my dad telling me to turn off my own Private Idaho. So, like, what's this filth?
Oh, that's probably he's probably did you a favour there. Yeah.
What about you, Adam?
That just reminded me of I went to the movies to see Under Siege with my dad, and he put
Oh,
my
yeah?
hands over my eyes when the boobs came out of the cake. Right?
Oh.
And then like it was fine for Casey Ryback to like throw knives in throats. You know, like that was
Yeah,
just,
that was
like
okay.
Toy Lee Jones getting stabbed in the head, totally fine. But
big
like,
fat titties, no
nipples,
good, no.
way, you know,
Ugh.
so, but I mean, that's funny. This is bringing back so many memories. Like my parents would watch MA or R-rated. Well, the MA wouldn't have even existed then, but R-rated stuff like Basic Instinct, and they'd say go to your room, but I'd get in the hallway and I'd
Of
have
Yeah,
course.
you
one eye
take it.
going
You'd
over
have
Yeah.
to watch from the
yeah,
background.
and I'd be like, what's going on over here?
Nice beaver.
But the first movie I ever went to see was Tim Burton's Batman.
Oh,
And
wow.
I remember my dad took me to Aubrey Cinema, which has got this amazing balcony, and so I just remember the smell of popcorn, like this massive screen, and you, if you lean over the balcony, like there's a bit of a drop, and I remember being like, oh, this is kind of scary, and the movie just kicked off, you know, and obviously like Elfman's score, you know,
Yeah.
and it was my first exposure to Prince, I think, too, as well. So it probably explains a lot now. But I was like, but they used to have those amazing, you know, kind of like tie-ins, and I got like this Prince badge. I got this like Joker bandana, and obviously
Wow.
because it was my first film, I'd never seen Jack Nicholson, you know, like I mean,
Yep.
and he's just absolutely swinging for the rafters.
Yeah.
like, and I was
Best
like, my
Joker.
God, you know,
My
like,
mind.
and so you know, you got
Dang.
this A-list
Jared
movie
Leto
star
plays.
delivering this like bonkers performance, and I'd never seen a movie. Well, I'd never seen a movie, but I had never seen anything that kind of gothic or dark.
Yeah,
before, and
absolutely.
So I just remember, just the minute that you know
Yeah.
symbol came up, the score kicked in. I was ready.
You were swept up in the atmosphere.
I was good to
So we,
go.
so we both had comic book.
My
things
my
there.
nana took me to see Batman.
yeah.
I remember it vividly because I remember being mesmerized. Remember the camera sweeps over the logo
Yes,
for ages.
I know for ages. Yeah, totally.
And I remember
it's like
that.
it's in a
Oh,
maze,
I
yeah.
must have been just so easily influenced because that was like, wow, what is
Yeah,
this?
totally. I'm like,
Yeah.
and then he like clicks the belt, and I'm like, ooh.
Yeah,
like,
that's it.
know,
Yeah, yeah.
And it was such a departure from what was happening on the Batman show on TV too, as well. Like,
Yeah.
and I remember they're like, this is a pretty big gamble with Michael Keaton and stuff like that, but. Dude, I
I-
still dig it.
I was amazed
still
my
dig it.
nan was watching it.
Yeah.
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 So I think,
Nan.
you know, and it
Great
made,
effort.
made so much money. You know,
Oh, it was a massive hit, wasn't it?
I used to have a deal where my parents would allow me to take like 10 of my closest friends to a movie and we'd go to Pete's Hut as my birthday.
Yeah.
So when Batman Returns came out, I was so jazzed. Like I just was just chomping at the
There's
bit,
a
right?
dark film.
And I really wanted to see it. And then the ratings board gave it an M, low level violence rating here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I couldn't take my friends because they go to a Christian school. So we had to
Yeah.
see Beauty and the Beast instead. And that's one of my most traumatic cinematic experiences. Beauty and the Beast is a great film. Right? It's
Yeah,
a great
right.
film. But I knew in the next cinema, people were watching Batman Returns, and I was like just a budgerigard, like head banging. I just wanted to get
Yeah.
out there. Like I was so angry.
So you saved
Oh,
it for
my dad took me the
98.
next day, and then I just told in detail in the playground all my friends.
Mate,
about what
see,
happened.
I reckon that's the best Batman film ever
It's
made.
a wild movie.
Yeah.
Clooney, mate.
Yeah, it would have provoked. I would have been in a lot of trouble with the,
Oh
Parent-teacher
man! Well,
association.
there you go. So now you know a little bit more about us and how we formed our cinematic chops. But anyway, let's take a listen to Guillermo, see what's happening up there at Screen Realm.
How's it going, everybody? Guillermo here from ScreenRealm.com, Australia's favorite entertainment website covering all things movies and television. Hope everyone's doing well out there during these crazy times. Looking back at the week that was on Screen Realm, we've got Train to Busan sequel details and pics unveiled. Yes, there's a follow-up to the South Korean 2016 zombie hit Train to Busan. By the way, if you haven't seen this film, What are you doing with your life? You really have got to get on it. Zombies take over a train in South Korea. It's crazy. The sequel is going to be set 4 years after the original film, and it's not going to be a sequel per se. As director Yun Sang-ho has said, it takes place 4 years after Train to Busan. It's in the same universe, but it doesn't continue the same story, and it's got different characters. So jump on ScreenRealm.com to check out a few more details about that film and to check out 2 of those picks. I'm really excited for that one. Terminator and Aliens actor Michael Biehn has been cast in the 2nd season of Disney Plus Star Wars series The Mandalorian. Now, the details are being kept under wraps, although the website Making Star Wars is reporting that Michael Biehn will be playing a bounty hunter from The Mandalorian's past. It's good to see Biehn get a big role again. The last big film he had was probably 2007's Planet Terror, so it's been quite a while for the actor. Looking forward to Mandalorian Season 2, which is hitting Disney Plus this coming October. We've got some news on the follow-up to Mad Max Fury Road. Yes, George Miller is still working on the follow-up. It's not a sequel, it's going to be a prequel, which has been said now for a while, but nothing is exactly being confirmed on that front. But with this new news, perhaps we know a little more. Anya Taylor-Joy, who you may know from The Witch, Split, and recently Emma, she's said to have entered talks to take on the lead role of Furiosa, who was played by Charlize Theron in Fury Road, and Miller is apparently holding more and more auditions over Skype. As of now, they're reportedly aiming to shoot Furiosa in 2021, so let's hope that, this whole virus thing allows for that. Speaking of coronavirus, Australian distributor Roadshow Films have announced that they're going to be fast-tracking more and more of their recent theatrical releases for home entertainment via digital. Films like Joker, Hustlers, and The Good Liar are now available on digital, and other films like Go, Midway, Birds of Prey, Just Mercy, Miss Fisher and the Crypt of Tears, The Gentleman, Richard Jewell, Motherless Brooklyn, The Way Back are all going to be made available over the next 2 to 3 weeks. So if there is any plus regarding this damn virus, it's that we can actually watch some of these films earlier than planned if we miss them in cinemas. We've also had plenty of trailers go up, a lot of them for television shows that are coming up, which is great because binging is absolutely everything right now. The trailer arrived for an upcoming limited series heading to Apple called Defending Jacob, starring Chris Evans. Evans plays an assistant district attorney whose world is turned upside down when his son, played by IT actor Jaden Martell, is suspected of a shocking murder. It's based on the 2012 bestseller by William Landay, and it looks absolutely riveting. One that I'm really excited for is an upcoming animated series heading to Hulu called Solar Opposites, and it comes from Rick and Morty co-creator Justin Roiland. One quick look at the trailer and you'll see exactly how much of a Rick and Morty style show this looks, and it looks fantastic. The plot follows 4 aliens that have escaped their exploding home world and land in suburban America. 2 of them hate the planet with its population and consumerism, while the other 2 love what fun it has to offer. They'll have to keep their eye on their mission though, which is protecting a living supercomputer that will evolve, consume them, and terraform the Earth. Check out that trailer, I'm really excited for it, and basically anything that's kind of like Rick and Morty, I'm totally in for. We had Adam Fleet review the new Spanish Netflix film called The Platform, a sci-fi horror film set within a vertical prison with 1 cell per level, 2 people per cell, only 1 food platform, and 2 minutes per day to feed them from up to down. You know what that means. Whoever's left at the bottom probably won't get anything, as every level above it consumes more and more and more. It's a clear allegory on society and capitalism and things of that nature, but apart from that, it's just a damn good sci-fi horror film. He loved it, giving it 4 out of 5 stars, saying, "The platform keeps the audience on its toes, and although no one could ever accuse it of subtlety, it asks us to ponder some interesting questions about society and human nature. It's also original, intriguing, and exciting, and fans of the genre will be hard pushed to find anything as opinionated or as off-kilter as The Platform. It also must be said that it is pretty gory and nasty, so if you're a sensitive type, maybe avoid this one, but if you can handle it, I really suggest you check it out. We also have a new giveaway up. This is a fun one. It's for the John Travolta starring thriller, The Fanatic. Travolta goes all out in this one, playing Moose, a rabid movie fan who is obsessed with his favorite celebrity action hero. Moose turns to stalking to get the fan to star interaction he feels he deserves, and let's just say things go kind of crazy from there. Released on DVD by Eagle Australia on April 1st. That's it for me, guys. Make sure you also go to Screen Realm for your schedules for Stan and Netflix in April, because you're going to want to know what's coming out during this binge fest. Thanks so much, guys. Don't forget Screen Realm across social media. Laters.
Stay true to the path, young Jedi. Cleave to the precepts you've been given. Remember those who went before and cleared a way for you. Let your deeds give hope and comfort to the living. Let your deeds give hope and comfort to the living. Do your best in city or in swampland. Peace over anger, honor over hate. At the end of all your days, one Jedi waits for you, with the dust of Jedi bones piled high like parsnips on his plate. With the dust of Jedi bones piled up like parsnips on his plate. Specifically just their bones, all the soft parts you can keep. It's the bones that have the calcium, so he says. The long feast will be filmed for mass consumption. The cameras Ryan's got these days are unimaginably high res. Despair not for the end that waits for you. Fear not the fire in which your flesh must burn. All the Jedi from all the planets in this putrid universe get eaten by this last one, and now it's your turn. They get eaten by this last one, and now it's your turn. Bones, 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 bones. Bones, 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 bones. The ultimate Jedi who wastes all the other Jedi is eating up all their bones. All their bones, 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 bones.
Our gratitude to Guillermo, as always. Please visit Screen Realm's website and social media pages. They've got tons of reviews and articles that I've written, as well as heaps of other writers, plus daily content and other cinematic treats. So I also hope you enjoyed that cheeky little number from the Mountain Goats. That's a song called The Ultimate Jedi Who Wastes All Other Jedi Eats Their Bones. So I figured that it's Star Wars week with Rise of the Skywalker Hidden Home Entertainment. So why not make a theme out of it? Keep listening because we're going to close the show off with another unusual Star Wars tune. But right now it's time to chip away at Adam's brain.
Yes, Adam. So we've got a few questions for you, mate. A little Q&A.
Fire away, go.
So, Adam, you're the chairman of the Australian Film Critics Association. Can you sort of just explain a bit about what that is and what you do?
Polishing my badge, as we speak. Oh, well, look, I mean, I didn't know that there was such a thing as a film critic. I mean, I would read reviews in magazines and the paper. I would always, feverishly like to devour them. And then I was always working at a video store. Glenn used to work at a video store. And then I still remember this dude came in, and whenever I swiped his movies, they just comped. They were free. And I'm like, what is going on here? And then he's showed me this card, and he's like, and he worked for the radio station. He had terrible taste, the worst taste, right? And then and I was like, where do you get this card? And he goes, with this, I get to go to the movies whenever I want. I get free movies from the video store. And I'm like, I would sell my soul for this card, right? I would do anything for it. And so then I went to uni, and I bumped into some guys that reviewed movies, and they're like, I'm a film critic. And I'm like, aren't we all? I was kind of dismissive of but he's like, no, I'm a professional film critic. I'm like, oh, well, how does that work? And so then I found out about AFCA, which is the Australian Film Critics Association, and basically a body of film critics nationwide, and it unifies us. So it's kind of like Highlander. There's a few of us out there, and now and then we clash, but we've, it's a place for us to come together and hopefully not butt heads, but kind of, see the lay of the land. And it's so rapidly evolving technologically. We're doing this now, we're podcasting, and I think all of us know that film can be a quite singular pursuit. You watch it in the dark, you analyze it, you write a lot, or you do your own film or podcast. So it's a good way to try and, get people to connect and have a bit of a community around it as well. I thought, I'm going to meet these people and they're just going to be fully like me. And look, most kind of are in a way. We were just like the cable guy abandoned to the video store when we were a kid, and we got raised that way. But so with AFCA, we've had some big developments over the last couple of years, and Glenn has helped a lot. And so my handle of it has been pretty recent, but basically we've had to handle the difference between print media going into the digital age. So it's not going to unless this C word I can't mention today on the show wipes out and we go back to print media, this is the way of the future, podcasting and this and that and stuff like that. So we can have, more connectivity now than ever before.
So with the shift in medias and the platforms changing, the current state of film criticism? Where do you see it?
Look, it's become incredibly diplomatic, and something like Rotten Tomatoes, some people are whinging because they fought very, very hard to get status within the community, and then they're like, that guy's been doing it for 5 minutes. But, I think like everything, cream rises to the top, and ultimately too as well, you will assign, criticism. You'll find someone that you like. Or like me, if you really hate their taste, you read everything they do, and you're like, why is he so wrong? Yeah, I know some critics, and they've given like my favorite movie of the year like 1 star, and I read everything that they ever publish. Right, I'm obsessed with them. Like I read them more than the ones I like.
You read a lot of reviews.
Peter Travers, who I'm friends with on Facebook, a little plug there.
Wow.
That, for Rolling Stone, my mum used to give me Rolling Stone for Easter, and I just read his reviews, and I'm like, God, he thinks like I do, And there was a bunch of movies that came out that I really loved that were a bit underappreciated, things like Fight Club and even Tim Burton's Batman, and he gave them 3.5 or 4 star reviews. And like him and I are really, we've got the same taste. So that made me want to get into.
Well, that was the same with the way I felt connected to Roger Ebert.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, they're the cliche names to drop. There'll be a lot of film critics listening that'll roll their eyes, because we listed the Titans
Andrew
and all
Sarris.
that. Lee Patch.
A lot of us have got respect, for the Pauline Kaels. And look, I've just read some, but now and then I would get a different perspective. And I thought, you know what, you can have a deep dive on this stuff. And because a lot of people said to me, how do you know so much about movies? And it was getting those big textbooks like Leonard Maltin's and stuff like that. I used to have them at the video store, and I would go through and I'd flip and I'd read,
Same.
Because someone would say, how can you go, like there might be 15 new releases this week, and how come to pick the 2 good ones out? And I was just reading. So I just would read the reviews and see what, were the aggregates, kind of what was going on and stuff like that. And so, it's changing so much now. Look, I am an asshole about this and biased about it, but I just, user-based reviews, I don't think that they're worth, what they're printed on in ways. Like someone goes, oh, it's got 100 on IMDb. And I'm like, yeah, by some drunk redneck dude that just, and I'm like, this guy, it's something like Metacritic or something else that's got a little bit more of, I don't know, quality control, I guess, in it.
Having you just said that, I'd like to see how Keith Crowbar's in the next question.
Yeah, go.
All right, well, let me give this a shot. That was kind of the answer. So you mentioned that actually. You mentioned Rotten Tomatoes, and we do live in an age, or maybe you can give me your perspective on this.
Yeah.
Do you feel that we live in an age where the film critic, the value that we place on it is decreasing compared to how we all look at the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes? Everyone's a critic. Everyone's got Facebook. Everyone thinks the latest Star Wars film is, Oscar worthy. Well, for those people that do. But so what sort of value do you think can still be assigned to a film critic where, say, people who aren't as educated on film can sort of, I suppose, learn to understand more about it?
I'm really big. This is why I love Peter so much, is that Peter just had this natural enthusiasm. And so when he really loved a movie, he was selling it, right? And I was buying whatever he was selling. And that's what I really, really liked about it. And I can find that really hoity-toity critics, us talking about PT before and stuff like that, it can alienate general audience members. So, like, for example, like, say, like The Lighthouse that came out, right? So, like, if we all have this kind of 5-star circle jerk about that movie, and then some dude who hasn't watched an art house movie in his life is, like, stuck in this 4:3 ratio, black and white,
with William.
And then he's like, oh, I hate critics,
Yeah.
And so I get wary, but so I try and condition it. And I go, look, if you're into the films of David Lynch, or you've, seen The Witch, and you understand this, like, A24 type of horror, and you dig that. So I try and condition it in that sense. But look, as critics, we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't. If someone's going to see something based on the marketing materials, they're like, I don't give a shit what critics think, right?
Yeah.
Like, the movie is completely critic-proof, right? And if it's based on an existing franchise, no one gives a shit, right? But then, and the studios don't give a shit about us either, right? But then when they've got a smaller movie that we see, and then we say it's amazing, then they love us, right?
Yeah,
and then
that's
they
it.
stick us on the posters, they stick us on the DVDs.
Yeah.
So if we shit can their tent poles, like, they don't want to hear about us.
Yeah.
We get banned for a month from going to the movies. But
But then they're all over us. We've got this small little independent film, or the film festival's opening.
The
And
Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Totally. And so I think that there is a value still in that, because I do want to pick up a cover and I want to see someone who I trust that give me like a good review. And if I see 4 or 5 stars and from a reputable outlet, then I'll watch the movie.
I agree.
But you know what? Like, reviews are they're a part of a conversation, because people will say, they'll trash critics and say, oh, like, no, what's the value of a film critic anymore? But they can still say, I read that review and it sucked. Like, they read them. Like, there is no doubt that people read them, so they're informed by them.
I
So
agree.
there is a value there, even if people don't accept it in the moment.
No,
Like,
I agree.
They recite it,
Yeah, but they contextualize the film, like, whenever it comes out. We talk about Ebert, how many times that he reviewed amazing film that he didn't like, and then went back.
Yep.
So it's interesting. It's an interesting window into the history of a film.
Which I said I connect with what he does. Last week on this show, I told Matthew Holmes that I actually revisited my review of Ben Hur and have amended something I said. You know, like it's, something I was critical of. I've watched it over and over now, and I'm no longer critical. So
look, I think that with especially the three of us, I mean, we've been reared on movies, and so we have a real gut instinct. I know whether I like something automatically or not, right? And I don't need it to be validated by anyone else. And I'm lucky enough to be educated or articulate enough in film that I can justify my my arguments. It just shits me when I will give this really passionate, articulate review of something that I like, and someone goes, "No, it sucked," and then I'm like, "Why?" And then it just did.
Yeah.
God damn it. Because now and then I'm fascinated by someone's takedown of something. My only criticism would be about the modern sphere is that things have become so incredibly political, and like even what you're saying about Woody Allen before.
Yeah.
Someone will come, and so film theory is just gone, right? Like, I mean, people are not talking about cinematography anymore. They're not talking about construction. They're not talking about script. And so what will happen is a review will come out for a new movie. Like, what was that, Rainy Day in New York, right?
Yeah,
Like, the first 3 paragraphs of any review on that film will be referencing the court case and and all these accusations. And that's fine if you want to put that in maybe one paragraph, but not 3 or 4. And then by the end, I'm like, but what is the movie like? And it's frustrating that I know more about the case than I do about a Rainy Day in New York.
Yeah.
And I find that people are getting distracted, and they're getting very worried that if they don't reference the artist's problematic behaviour, that somehow they're being dismissive, or that they're, or worst case, they're endorsing that.
Yeah.
And so if you do a Woody review and you don't bring it up, you're an asshole.
Yeah,
and
you're
I'm like,
bigot.
that's mental. I don't know. I don't get I would rather get my facts from a different story. And I'd rather know what you think of the new Timothy Chalamet movie.
You don't want to know what Glenn thinks of Timothy Chalamet.
But you're a film critic, so that's why I'm coming.
That's just an in-joke there. He's not a fan of Timmy.
But I'm a fan of Woody, so
Yes.
I'm conflicted on that.
So I've been rolling my eyes maybe sometimes lately because I can see the bias automatically. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you just shit can this movie. But often they're very worried. Recently, like with Green Book, when that came out, and a lot of people, I went with a few friends, and they had no context of any of the problematic material, and they just loved it. And then afterwards, I brought up what was happening behind the scenes, and really,
They question.
and then they started to question whether they liked it in a way. And so I found that to be a little bit poisonous, where people are having a really kind of genuine, altruistic experience, emotional experience in the movies, and then they get home, they get online, and they're like, I wasn't allowed to like that.
Yeah, I think that's a
That makes me
great
bit
point.
sad,
I love
you can
Green
retract
Book.
your endorsement of the film, but the fact that you liked it speaks for the film itself.
Well, same. I mean, I really liked it as well. But and my friend, he was so into it, and he's such a bright guy. And then he was like, "Oh, I didn't know about it." And because I've said this before, people go, "I don't like that film," and I go, "What parts?" And they go, "The bits on Twitter." And I'm like, the movies, the bits don't even exist in the film. They're not even in the text.
That's right.
So I just think that if we were all to be in a bunker and we just got our hands on the Blu-ray, we have no contextualization of what's going on in the world. So I wish we could get back to just that pure art form way.
Yep.
Is it just a good horror movie? I know that the director's a creep, but can we just say, what's the film like? You know? And that's in no way giving them a freedom pass. If you interview them and you want to hit them with hard questions, go to town. But don't shit can a really rock solid 4-star horror movie. And
I
give them
suspect
1-star
you're
review
thinking
because,
about Jeepers Creepers, aren't
well,
you?
you but same thing. If he releases a legitimately good film, I want to say the movie's really good. Check it out, but also know it's made by an accused pedophile.
A convicted pedophile.
Well, convicted pedophile. So and then you can choose to watch it or not if you don't. But same with Woody. I don't. Rainy Day in New York might be. I haven't seen it yet. I can't see it because it hasn't been released because of all this shit. But it could be one of his best films. But I just don't goddamn know.
Well, that's probably that's a good point. That's probably the thing that annoys me is the fact that this one in particular, has been held back from release. So it's at least give me the opportunity to not like it.
Yeah, and my thing is too, and even if I'm against the politics that are going on behind the scenes, if it's a lukewarm, crap Woody entry, and there are some of those films, then I'll just say the same.
That's right.
But if it's another Midnight in Paris, and I'll be like rock and roll.
Yeah.
I don't know because people have got the shits and they're not allowing it to be released.
Yeah. And you never know, in 5 or 10, I'm projecting here, but say if something happens with a film like Green Book, who's to say they won't just pull it?
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Referencing that movie that I brought up before, the age that we grew up in an age where there were legitimately provocative movies. movies. You know, like there were things like A Clockwork Orange and Basic Instinct and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Imagine if that one came out today.
So exactly. So like, if Basic Instinct was controversial back then, and I tell you that Green Book is controversial now,
I
like,
know.
people would think, what went on? In
I know.
that?
We
Like,
grew up
you
with
know,
Romper Stomper,
yeah,
for
you
fuck's
know,
sake.
exactly, you know, I mean, but these movies, they endure because they do. Some of them are ambiguous. They light a
Yes.
fire under your ass, and you go, shit, like, man, that movie shook me or whatever.
Great example, like I mentioned Romper Stomper then, which was a really provocative film at the time. Well, they came back to Romper Stomper last year and they just watered it down completely. It was like a completely
And wouldn't you
flaccid
think that
thing.
we would be progressing in our kind of like attempts to provoke, you know. I mean, but movies have become, you know, homogenized in a way that. Well, I just find it interesting. Like,
They play to the opinion.
totally, yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you set aside, if you go most controversial movie of 1993 versus most controversial movie of 2019, on content alone, it looks like it's a movie from a Bible camp. You know, they'd be like, I don't get this. Like, why was this movie problematic? And like Twitter.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
not like, I mean, when was the last time that a movie came out and because of its actual gore, sex content, people were like, man, we can't have this around.
Totally. So this is where we'd normally throw to your segment.
Mm-hmm.
So would you like to do it live at the desk? It would be an absolute privilege for us to hear you.
pleasure.
You got me warmed up now, you know.
Warmed up or grogged up. I mean,
It's early. All right. Well, you know, speaking of controversial movies, I'm going to talk about The Hunt, a movie that even Donald Trump was talking about on Twitter. And this, what was it called? Red State versus Blue State.
Yeah. Because they'd already made Orange State, so he couldn't, you know.
Oh yeah. And look, this is kind of like, you know, a splash of Battle Royale, a splash of the Hunger Games, which I guess is derivative of that. But basically, 12 people are in a field, they get released, and they are being hunted. And why are they being hunted? And funnily enough, from what I was talking about before, they're being hunted for their opinions on Facebook. But what this movie does straight away is it just thumbs its nose, tongue in cheek. It's like an absolute gore fest, right? Like, I mean, honestly, and it does this. And look, I don't want to give too much away. I don't really like talking about plot and reviews, but it's got this absolute false start where you're like, okay, here's Emma Roberts, here's like this handsome dude from Bad Moms, and then, you know, and you're like, okay, well, these are our, you know, square-jawed protagonists, and then like shit just goes sideways so quickly, and I'm like, oh my god, what am I actually watching? But I think, you know, this is written by Damon Lindelof, and I think, you know, between Watchmen that he released last year and The Leftovers, he's really emerged to me to one of my favourite writers.
Yep.
And I just, you know, like, some people have said the politics of this movie aren't as sharp as they could be, but as like a slick piece of genre work, like director Craig Zobel here, I mean, the movie moves. It's just so quick, and you never really get it. Like the characters themselves, you're thrust into this. You never get a grip of what you're really kind of watching. And tonally, it kind of goes pretty wild.
Yeah.
And so it's going to play to a very specific audience. I think basically like the guys sitting here, where like the chief, you know, people who are going to enjoy it, but. You know, I've showed it to two other people, and they're like, "Man, this is a pretty wild movie." And so, but it is thumbing its nose at this kind of idea, you know, that like liberals can be even more aggressive than conservatives and stuff. It doesn't play. It plays it right down the line. It's having it on both sides, and some people have got the shits with that because they're like, you should authoritatively be saying who is right and who's wrong. But this movie's saying sometimes we just don't know.
It just doesn't happen that way in reality.
You know, there's a complexity there, you know, and you know, Betty Gilpin is in the lead here. It's just like so amazing.
She's great. Like, why she's not a Hollywood starlet is
Holy
beyond me.
Shit, man! In this, like straight away, she's acting with her eyes, and she's got this like closed mouth American accent. I'm like, what's going on here? And then by the end, I'm like, man, she's like Ellen Ripley. Like, I mean, she's just wild. And when she unleashes, I was like, shit, man, this girl's got it. Like,
she's the second lead from Glow, that Netflix show.
Yeah. And same, like a total star-making performance. The minute that she kicked off in this, I'm like, who is this girl, man? She's like just rock and roll. But I think for me, because I am a centrist, and I think, you know, I got splinters on both legs from sitting on the fence all the time. Right?
Yeah.
So a movie like this, I'm kind of like, good, you know, it's not preachy in any way. It's just saying that if we descend into violence and chaos and name calling, and we play play the man and not the ball, this is the kind of shit that happens.
Yeah.
With machine guns.
Yeah, right. Well, this kind of in a way contradicts what we were just talking about, you know, with films not being as, you know, provocative as they used to be, right?
Totally,
because it's a Blumhouse film, and they're starting to really take a political stance or a political direction.
Yeah, sure.
You know, they've done Get Out and they've done Us, which all have these parallels to, you know, the political climate. So it's interesting the way they're going.
Some people have had the shits because the protagonists of this are conservatives, right? You know, like, I mean, and the antagonists, you know, are these liberals. But, you know, there's some really funny satire that's in there that is absolutely like, you know, it's completely on point, where people are talking about almond milk and what language they can use and appropriation, and you can't wear that kimono and all this stuff.
I cannot
you know, like,
wait to see this.
Oh, trust me, like it made me giggle. And it plays it, but you know, plays it both sides, you know, but it just slathers the whole thing in gore. So I mean, there's a more user-friendly version that could have been just shepherded into Australian cinemas, but as a movie to have a six-pack and then chuck icons.
The
It's taken a long time to get to us this one as well.
Well, look, yeah. So I mean, I think that it hasn't done crash out of the box office, but it was released in the weekend. What is the lowest one since 1988?
But it's had 2 false starts at the box office.
Totally, yeah.
You know.
So I do feel sorry for the team because I think that this, as we were saying before, movies have become so safe. This movie isn't safe.
Yeah.
It's not actually saying anything deeply provocative, but it's playing in that playground. I'm like, good on you guys. Like, I mean,
Just for a bit of context, when it was first supposed to be released, it had a few of those school massacres. So they just pulled it. They pulled the plug on it indefinitely, and
the marketing materials and the optics of it aren't great because it is literally people screaming, running around, just being shot. So and that's about 90% of the movie. So I don't know how else you'd cut a trailer.
And the director Craig Zobel directed an amazing film called Compliance.
Yeah, totally.
A few years ago, which is a real sort of
Zachariah. Yeah, so honestly, he's a really good craftsman. Like, there's some really great John Wick slices of action in this. Like, kind of 1-2 action beats in a single shot, and I was like, okay, it's well choreographed, and the Macon Blair's got this awesome cameo in there too as well, like from Blue Ruin and Green Room. So it's very knowing to genre fans.
Awesome.
I would give this 4 stars. Look, it's really polarizing, and it's sitting dead 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, as we were saying before. But that is polarizing between 1-star reviews and 4-star reviews.
Yeah.
So you just either going to fall into one or two categories.
Those splinters are going to get you,
but
mate.
I am a 4-star guy on this.
Cool. Well, thanks for that. I'm
Fascinating.
itching to see this one. But we're going to be back in a moment to recommend a couple more movies and give away a bunch of stuff.
Live from America's premier horror and paranormal convention, every Friday night, Scarefest Television brings you guests from the horror and paranormal fields, plus featured movie reviews, entertainment features, and short films. Watch us live every week at scarefestradio.com or via Facebook and Twitter by following The Scarefest.
Scarefest Radio, the radio you can see.
All right, movies. It's time to give away some movies. But first, let's announce the winner for last week's prize, which was a couple of copies of Matthew Holmes' films. We've got Twin Rivers on Blu-ray and The Legend of Ben Hall, as well as the soundtrack to The Legend of Ben Hall. Keith, I'm just going to reach over and give you a cup here. That's got a whole lot of names in it. I'm going to get you to pluck the winner out of that because we had a lot of feedback on this one.
All right.
Who is the winner of this awesome?
The winner of this tasty pack is Phil Heaton.
Phil Heaton, congratulations.
Well
We're going to be
Phil.
in touch with you this week and send you out these signed copies, I might add, of The Legend of Ben Hall and Twin Rivers. So congratulations on that. This week we've got 4 exciting titles to give away. The first 2 come as brand new releases from Eagle Entertainment. Our friends up there have the psychological thriller The Fanatic, which you heard all about earlier on in the show, and Big Legend, which is a wilderness monster film that I'm actually dead keen to watch. Cannot wait to get my hands on a copy of this. But you're going to get the first one. And also, just to round off my tribute to Stuart Gordon, we've got the seminal Reanimator and From Beyond to give away as well, the collector's edition of Reanimator. All you've got to do is hit us up on social media between now and next Monday. We will choose a winner at random. So comment, like, share, all of the above on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Podbean, and you're instantly in the draw. So now let's round off the show with our final recommendations. Keith, would you like to take the lead?
I would. I'm gonna jump into the 21st century on this one. I feel like I've been dwelling in the 60s and 70s. I'm going to recommend the 2010 Roman Polanski thriller.
Polanski.
Roman.
This is an interesting episode we're presenting.
Look, we're providing you with frivolous entertainment. The Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor.
Ewan McGregor, underrated, I feel.
It's a good movie, yeah.
A great film and underrated actor, I almost feel. I know he's great, but I feel like he should
My
be.
lingo's starting to rub off on you,
should be
like
s-
underrated.
Yeah, but I'm credit where credit's due. That's my sort of thing. So yeah, it's a film. It's about a Ghost Rider, obviously played by Ewan McGregor, who gets tasked with the assignment of writing the memoirs of the disgraced or soon-to-be disgraced former Prime Minister, played by my boy Pierce Brosnan. It's also
forgot he
got,
was in that.
yeah, it's also got I think Kim Cattrall.
Yep.
It's got Eli Wallach, I believe, in I think is his last role. I think it might be his last,
Yeah.
just one scene. I believe he's playing a Robert McNamara type figure. So it's based around like the political, I guess, flavour of the early 2000s with the Iraq War and all that stuff. But it's
Yeah.
it's a good romp. Seeing as we're spending time at home, this is a perfect one for a lazy arvo. So I'd recommend this. It's not Polanski's best. We can all agree that that's Chinatown.
Or Death and the Maiden.
or Chinatown. But it's a good film. I think it probably went a little under the radar when it came out. I think it's probably been forgotten about. But
I think most of his films go under the radar.
Probably,
now.
yeah.
They kind of have to.
Yeah. Carnage, I think, was another one that kind of went by the wayside. But yeah, this is a great film. Great thriller, fantastic romp, and some good performances. Sturdy Ewan's great. Pierce is actually good. He's great to see him in more,
What do you mean
dramatic.
he's actually good? He's a good actor.
He is Pierce. I'm sorry.
He was great in The Foreigner last year.
Okay, yeah. I
Jeez,
stand
that
correct.
was good.
I say Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yes.
Superlative.
Jeez, I forgot he was in that too. My God. Mine is, of course, a Stuart Gordon film. I have to just fully pay tribute to this guy on this episode, but the film's called Dagon from 2001. This was a sort of reunion of sorts between him, Brian Usner, and Dennis Paoli. They all made Reanimator and From Beyond together, and it's sort of their third installment of the Lovecraft trilogy that they did. So it was shot in Spain under Usner's Fantastic Factory company, and it's a very Lovecraftian, more than the others, about a group of friends that find themselves stranded in a small Spanish fishing village, which actually happened to worship the fish god Dagon. So it's just full of hideous creatures and humanoids and mermaids with razor teeth, and it's body horror, and it's very maritime, and I love the atmosphere. It's very wet and dank, and it's just dripping in
dank
blues and blacks, and I love it. I think it's probably Stuart Gordon's most unsung film, and it sort of missed the mark when it got released, but now that the years have passed, it's got a massive following. I think people have really gravitated towards it as a horror film in general. So it was released on Blu-ray through Umbrella, but it's also on Amazon Prime, so it's very easy to come by. So thank you, Stuart Gordon. I forgot to mention before, he's also the creator of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah, that was on the tip of my tongue. I'm like, I know he's done something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's done a few kids' films,
Yeah.
What a man.
He's a
What a
man
man. And his episodes of Masters of Horror was just amazing. So. Well, that's it for the show anyway. So thanks, Adam Ross, for sticking it out with us, mate.
Thank you, Adam.
That was very fun.
It's been heaps of fun. It's been
a
great
pleasure.
having you. Hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Absolutely.
Thanks to Guillermo at Screen Realm. Kudos to Jarrett for his PE class. Big ups to Eagle Entertainment. And cheers to my own Blofeld, Keith.
My pleasure, my friend. I'll bring the cat next time.
That man knows how to stroke a cat. Next week's episode is one that you do not want to miss. We'll be featuring the first half of a two-part interview with Hollywood director Michael Mann. So that's the guy behind Heat, Collateral, Miami Vice, and so many more. The two of us are going to be chatting about his director's cut release of the 1992 epic Last of the Mohicans.
Starring Daniel Day-Lewis.
There we go. There's another running motif through the episode. So we're going to leave you with a Star Wars sign-off. This is by a group called Nerf Herder, and it's called I'm the Droid You're Looking For.
The more you tighten your grip, the Endless gestures against the struggle. Trust